Resource buildings directly or indirectly impact pretty much everything in Rise of Kingdoms. Whether you are healing troops, or training troops, or doing researches, or upgrading other buildings, pretty much everything can be impacted by these resource buildings. In this video, we're going to go over exactly what it takes to get these to level 25 and how long it takes for them to pay for themselves. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, first we're going to establish how we can compare these to one another. There are two ways of approaching it. One is taking the 2000 gem blueprint upgrade for each of these buildings and figuring out how much of that resource that building will produce. For example, the farm produces an additional 10,400 food per hour, and however much food 2000 gems would buy is about how much you need to offset the gem cost of the upgrade. The other way we're going to look at it is how much gem cost all the resources used to upgrade to level 25, including the 2000 gems, would be, and doing the same thing. For example, the farm costs 5.2 million wood, 3.8 million stone to get to level 25, which means on top of the 2000 gems, you're going to have around another 3,100 gems that it costs to get those resources in theory. And at that point, once you offset that much gems in food, that building has completely paid for itself, and everything for certain is giving yourself free resources. First, we're going to talk about the farm. So at level 25, the farm gets an additional 10,400 food generated per minute over the level 24. The overall upgrade cost is 5.2 million wood and 3.8 million stone, and then the 2000 gems for the blueprint. For the overall cost, 1.5 million food can be bought for about 460 gems. So that means to recoup just the 2000 gems, you would need 6.52 million food. This would take about 627 hours, which comes out to 26 days and 3 hours, roughly. But when you include the resources cost, you need to produce about 16.8 million food, which comes out to about 67 days, which is not super crazy, actually. Really, when you think about it, it's about 2 months for it to pay for itself. And then once you reach that point, any food you produce bonus is free. So anybody who plays for 3 months then is getting a month of extra production, where it's like they have 8 level 24s instead of 4 level 25s. Next, we're on to the lumber mill. The lumber mill is pretty much the same as the farms in terms of resource costs. It's the same amount of extra production, the same amount of cost, except for the upgrade costs 5.2 million food instead of wood, but the conversion rate for food and wood and gems is the same, so the amount of time is going to be the same. So it'll take 26 days and 3 hours for the 2000 gems to be recouped by wood production, and around 67 days for the full cost to be reimbursed when you convert the food and stone you put into the building into gems and recoup that amount as well. Now we're on to the quarries. This is where it gets a little tricky because the production numbers are a little different, but you'll actually find something pretty neat here. When we look at the production, you get an additional 7,800 stone per hour. This costs 9.5 million food and 9.5 million wood on top of the 2000 gems. If you fully convert all this to gems, it's about 7,827 gems. You can buy 1.125 million stone for 460 gems. So to recoup 2,000 gems, it would take 4.89 million stone. This actually comes out to the same 627 hours. So it takes 26 days and 3 hours to recoup the 2,000 gems. But with the resource costs, it's a little higher. The rough equivalency of 7,827 gems is 19.14 million stone, which takes about 102.25 days to recoup the full cost of the resources and gems as stone equivalent. So this takes a little bit longer than the food and the wood, but it's about the same to recoup the 2,000 gems. Last but certainly not least, we have the gold mine. This is probably one of the more interesting ones because it kind of behaves in a different kind of way. So overall, you get an additional 5,200 gold per hour. This comes at a cost of 26.8 million food, 26.8 million wood, and 36 million stone. This is easily the most expensive in terms of other resources, at about 33,157 gems equivalency per level 25 upgrade. However, the increased production is a lot bigger ratio. 460 gems of gold is only about 600,000 gold. So 2,000 gems worth of gold is 2.61 million. At the increased rate of 5,200 per hour, this time is only 502 hours, which is 21 days to make up the 2,000 gems. So if you're just considering it from a making up the blueprint cost, and you're not considering the cost of food, wood, and stone, because oftentimes you have plenty of that, this is probably the easiest no-brainer, because around 3 weeks and it pays for itself. However, if you do consider resource costs, this time goes to an astronomical amount. Due to the high gem cost of all these other resources, it takes 43.25 million gold to make up the cost of the food, wood, and stone, which comes out to an astronomical 346.5 days. However, I've said before, and I'll really stand by it when I say this, is that the food, the wood, and the stone comes so much easier by gathering and by everything else that you can really not pay attention to this, and it would still easily make its case as the best upgrade to make as soon as possible. So in this case, I would really recommend going for the, when you consider it from the 2,000 gem standpoint, because the rest of the resources will come much more quickly, and I've seen people farm that many resources in a matter of a couple days. So overall, I don't think the cost here is super significant, and the 2,000 gems is really what you should consider when you're considering upgrading this. So all these numbers are nice and useful for giving an idea of how long it takes to recoup it, but when should you be doing your upgrades? And honestly, I think you should be doing them as soon as possible. The idea being, the sooner you can get these done, the sooner they start paying dividends and paying for themselves. So even if you consider the higher end of 100 days for that stone quarry to reproduce the amount of resources that you need to cover the food and wood you paid, if you get that done, that level 25 done sooner, it's paid for themselves sooner. So just keep that in mind. There are some exceptions. Major upgrades like your wall or your castle or your research centers or anything like that, you should do those first if you have a choice between one or the other and you have to choose. But overall, if you can get these to level 25 as soon as possible, they'll pay for themselves in no time. And the increased production doesn't seem like much, but when you tack on your increased resource production buffs from your items, and it's just something that can help give you a really nice edge without having to do anything crazy extra. With that, we've wrapped up our discussion on exactly what the time takes to recoup the cost of level 25 upgrades. Let me know what you think. Would you upgrade sooner? Would you wait? Let me know in the comments. And if you have any other questions that you would like covered in a longer format video like this, let me know in the comments as well, because I'll do my best to try to incorporate them into some video here in the future. But as always, good luck, fight well, and I will see you on the battlefield.